We have Coach Loenser here. Coach, if you'd like to make an opening statement, if not, we'll open the floor for questions for you.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to you, Nebraska, the city of Lincoln, and obviously all the media members that have taken some time today. On behalf of my wife, Jackie, and my 3 daughters, we're just excited to be here, and we're looking forward to giving our best effort to help the whole university and the community. And with that, I'll turn it over to questions and just say that I'm excited to be here.
Robin Washington, go first, please.
Hey, Nate, welcome to Nebraska.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
I guess, yeah, I know it's been well documented, your connection with Coach Hoiberg and the familiarity you have with working with him at multiple stops. But with Nebraska in particular, beyond that relationship and that history, what were some of the main selling points for you about, a program that hasn't had a lot of wins the last couple of years? I guess what besides just working with Fred made you decide to take this job?
Well, first and foremost, I think I can take it back a little further. I grew up in Cedar Falls, Iowa. My parents both went to Iowa State, so I grew up following Iowa State, but the old Big 8 days. I grew up following the Big 8 and following Nebraska. I can go back to as early as a player that Husker fans know, Trev Alberts. Trev Alberts actually went to my high school, and he graduated with my brother, so he's 8 years older than me. So at an early age, I was following Nebraska football from afar because I obviously had a invested interest in Trev's path. My sister, I have 3 older siblings. My oldest sister actually lived in Lincoln from around 94 to 2005, and I would actually come to Lincoln for around a week each summer and spend some time with her. So I actually got a good vibe and a good feel for the city and the community of Lincoln, even at an early age. I can even take it a step further. I applied to 3 schools, and one was Iowa State, one was Central College to play small college football, and the third was actually Nebraska. And if I wasn't going to go to Iowa State, I was going to actually go to Nebraska because I did like some of the things. So obviously this is the first time I'm experiencing everything firsthand and declaring residency and all that, but it wouldn't be true to say that Nebraska's never been on my radar. So I think that's probably the personal ties that I've had to here. I've come to games, whether it's Nebraska football games. I've been to the old Devaney Center. I've seen the teams going back to the Danny Nee, the Barry Collier, Doc Sadler, all throughout. I know some of the history. I haven't lived the history, but I know it. I mean, Clifford Scales, Bo Reed, Eric Piakowski, Rich King, Ty Lue, Mikey Moore, just all of it. So I've been a junkie my whole life when it comes to sports and things like that. And obviously with the proximity to where I grew up, I have known probably more about this place than most people know. So when the opportunity arose where Coach Hoiberg had something on his staff, it was something that I could truly envision myself. I could envision my family being here and raising my kids here and just look forward to getting started.
Chris Pasnet.
Hey, Nate, I know you've talked about this a lot, but why do you think the relationship between you and Fred works so well? Is there something there that you're just aligned philosophically, or why do you think that's been so successful for you, not only here but at Iowa State and with Chicago?
Well, I think I could take it a step further. I spent 6 years at the University of Southern Mississippi with Larry Eustachio, who I feel is one of the better defensive and rebounding coaches that I've been around. And when I decided to get back into college basketball and the opportunity arose with Fred, obviously his offensive acumen was just off the charts, and I was really drawn to that. So for me personally, I was excited about that opportunity when I left for Iowa State, just because I felt like I had a very good defensive background, and to get the offensive background as well with him, I just thought would make me a more complete coach. With that being said, the relationship that he and I have now, I mean, it goes beyond basketball. I obviously agree with him philosophically. Offensively, he and I have been hand in hand, step in step, and we've grown together as well. So there's a comfort level that's there. We can already speak the same language. There's not. I mean, it's like the last day we had with the Bulls was the first day here. There was just like there was no gap there. And to be honest with you, I still had followed his program here in Nebraska in his 2 years as well. So from that standpoint, that transition was very easy. And to take it even further, I'm a basketball coach, but I'm also a husband and a father as well. And that's very important to me, the family aspect. And to be honest with you, Fred understands it. He's a family man as well. And he understands what it's like to have the balance. And that's important for me personally. And to get the opportunity to work again with him. I mean, both of us are competitive natures off the charts and understand that. But at the end of the day, too, our family is super important. And he gets that and understands that. So when I can have that sort of balance, I know that I can be the most effective teacher I can be. So to get the opportunity to come and work with him again is just a blessing for us and our family.
Sam McEwen?
Any. So, Hoiberg said you're a great developmental coach. I know that that's something you really pride yourself on. What would you consider your specialty in development? What do you feel like you do really well in developing players? And what do you think the skill set of the Husker players you've already worked with?
It's first of all, it's a little ironic to me. I've never wanted to necessarily pigeonhole myself into one category. I came into the profession just kind of as I called it a bottom of funnel guy, just catch all the little things. I was a manager for a little while. I've been a graduate assistant. I've been a video guy. I've been a guy that would paint the locker room and has done all the jobs A to Z. So what I've tried to pride myself in is whatever the leader that I've worked for, I've tried to be the person that I'd want to work for me. So I think what's happened over time is a player development niche has been carved out, but I also don't want to pigeonhole myself just to say that it is player development. That was my point of like, I do think I am well-rounded when it comes to the defensive end and offensive end, but specifically when talking about player development, to me it's about relationships. And building relationships and trust with players. I don't think players are cookie cutter. I don't think, even as a teacher, I used to say my teaching philosophy was a little more eclectic. I like to take the best out of different parts of what I am and try to be authentic. And when it comes to that, I think if you're authentic, then you're able to relate to your student or to your player better. And whether that's a high school, a college, or a pro player, I think ultimately gaining that relationship and trust first is important. So with that being said, I've just tried to really pour into these guys. I'm at Nebraska now. This is the most important place for me and my family. And these players are at the top of my list and my focus. So I've been trying to download them, meaning that I'm trying to figure out how they work, how they operate, and that's a process. And these guys have been great. I appreciate their enthusiasm. They've been very receptive. But one of my philosophies is, and I'll tell each player this, is I strive to make this a we program. I think it's this day and age, it's tough to make it all about my program. I think it's also can be not as effective as if it's just their program. I want to make this a we program, and obviously there's direction that I'm going to provide and parameters, but I want them to feel invested in their development, because when they are, I think that they put more into it. Whereas if it's just straight me telling and guiding everything, I think that doesn't lead to quite the effectiveness, and that's just how I've tried to approach my overall development philosophy.
Brian Christopherson?
Hey, Coach, welcome.
Thank you.
How much appeal is there in joining a program that it hasn't broken through yet, but you've been here, you said, and you've perhaps seen the framework with the facilities and the arena, and there's a passion to build it up. What's the appeal on that, maybe?
Well, I mean, I can already say I love Lincoln. I love the school. The facilities are off the chart. We played our first exhibition with the Bulls against the Dallas Mavericks in my first year with the Bulls. So that was the first time experiencing Pinnacle Bank Arena. I had been to the Devaney Center before, but that was the first time. So obviously I saw the facilities there. I went to the practice facility, the Hendricks Complex. I visited there, I think the year after it was built. So obviously the resources were all in place. I understand that we're obviously in an elite conference. I obviously realize that tradition-wise, there hasn't been maybe a level of sustained success. I think there's been blips. I think there's been times where it's been close, but so there's obviously that. But at the end of the day, I'm not really concerned about what's happened in the past. I'm very into attacking the task at hand and tackling things one day at a time. And I think if you develop consistent professional work habits with players and try to teach them the right way and to teach them things that were going to ultimately lead to good things, then I think from there doors open. That's how I've tackled my own career. I never thought I would be coaching at Iowa State, the Bulls, or even Nebraska. I've attacked whatever situation I've been in and let the doors open from there. And I think it's the same thing. We can't get caught up in what's happened in the past. I think we can't get too far ahead of ourselves in the future, but whether it's one workout at a time, one lift at a time, one day at a time, I think if we can string together, great days and hold each other accountable that way, I think that's where things start to turn in the right direction that I think everybody around here would like to see.
Thank you.
Robin Washut?
You had limited interaction with the players currently on campus, but from what you've been able to gather, what's your sense of this group? I know it's a lot of veteran players, some of which have experienced a lot of success at other destinations. I guess what's your read on this particular group, and do they have the investment that you were talking about when it comes to taking their games to that next level?
So far, I would say yes. I mean, the thing that has jumped out to me is just their hunger level, their desire to get better. It's not a chase. It's what can we do, coach? How can we get better? Obviously, it starts there. I think the places that I've been, when the culture is right, where guys are into working on their craft and getting better, I think that just starts to spread in the right direction. I think there is a certain level of continuity right now with the 6 or 7 guys that we have coming back. I mean, you look at the year before, there was really only 2 guys that were coming back, and I think just in general, last year's circumstances really just led to a lot of moving parts at a lot of levels, at a lot of different schools. So I think this group that I've met so far and the players I've met so far are excited to move forward, are excited to get better. And that's exciting, because if it starts there and they start to pull each other and everybody, there's always that newness. And I understand, like with me coming in, I'm new, I'm coming from a different level. So there's that excitement and anticipation, but there's been no resistance. And I think we're building a good foundation, personally speaking, when it comes to relationships. So that way, when the natural mundane of the day-to-day stuff, if we build that trust now, then when those tough times hit, I think it'll be easier for us to stay together. I think coaching and teaching parallels life in a lot of ways. I think, it's the old adage, everybody has a plan until they get hit. So how do you respond to adversity? How do you adjust to adversity? I think ultimately we all know it's going to happen at some point in time, but if you develop some of those things in place to be able to weather some of those storms, I think ultimately that helps get you on track. I mean, this is a competitive business, as we know, and a profession. Other teams are trying to win too. So it's all about, trying to move forward in the same direction and trying to maximize what our abilities are.
Any other questions for the group, for Coach? You're not seeing any, and I'll end our media session today. Thank you, Coach Loenser. Welcome to Nebraska.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for everybody's time today.